Welcome back to another episode of the Becoming More podcast. I'm here with a great guy, Jayson Reed. Hi, Jayson. Thanks for being on today.
What's up, Brett? Good to be here, man.
So I've known Jayson for about, I don't know, somewhere around a year or so, give or take.
Give or take. Yep.
Um, and so Jayson, what I kind of ask everybody here is like, what's like kind of the bottom line or elevator pitch of like your story so far?
Yeah. I essentially spent the 2020 quarantine year dropping 190 pounds.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's a hell of a way to spend the quarantine when
Y-
so many people were gaining like 15 or 50 or
Right.
100. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
So, uh, so, so we'll start back at the beginning kind of thing. I know you've been on other podcasts, so I don't want to kind of rehash everything. So I kind of want to go through that and then get to some other questions.
Yeah.
So kind of just like as a child, were you like heavy as a child? Were you like an athlete, just average?
Um, I had my pudgy years, like probably fourth, fifth grade. Um, but aside from that, never really heavy. I was the tall kid with the knobby knees, growing up. And then in high school, I stayed active, um, all the way through, my sophomore year, when I could drive. Um, but yeah, playing football, basketball, wrestling, golf, because I didn't play baseball. Um, so yeah, and even through high school, even after I stopped playing sports, never really had much of a weight problem. It wasn't until really got out of high school, I took a little bit of a break after high school before going to college. But college is where it really started piling on.
Okay. And it was just like the normal, like started out as like a freshman 15 kind of thing, and then it's kind of spiraled from there.
And then some, and then
Yeah.
some. um, yeah, I don't know. It was, my freshman year, I went into a clinic and weighed in, and it was like 275, 285, one of those two, I can't remember. I was like, ooh, all right, I should do something. And I said that for about 20 years. I should do something. It just kept piling on and piling on and piling on. I wasn't really doing anything. I was going to school. I was working on the weekends. I was a blackjack dealer, at a casino here. So plenty of standing, but that was about it. Um, but just a lot of studying and eating. Um, didn't really drink much. I didn't go to school to party. I went to school, so I had a career and wasn't a blackjack dealer for the rest of my life. No offense to blackjack dealers, but it just wasn't for me, and that's why I was going to school.
And speaking of school, so I know that you have like you're in you had a computer science degree, right?
Mhm.
And you work as a project manager. Um, so did so obviously you got up to a certain weight. And when you got to that weight, did you ever like when you started to get up there, did you ever like think about like how you could attack it before you like got to the worst point, or was it just like because I mean, like, so for me, I had multiple bouts of where I lost like 70, 80 pounds, and then I'd gain
Mhm.
it back because I didn't really have the right mindset for it yet. I knew what I needed to do, but I just
Right.
didn't want to go all the way. Did you ever
Yeah.
have like stuff like that?
Yeah. I remember in 2005, I went in for a check, and the scale said 399, and that blew me away because I mean, I didn't think I was that big. So like, all right, I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna change this. Started eating a little better, walking a little bit. The apartment that we lived in, they had a gym with an elliptical, oddly enough, and I got on that every once in a while. That lasted for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then it just kind of went by the wayside. At that time, we had our first daughter, so she was born in April of that year. Um, but then it just, with work, I was working a lot with a new baby. A couple years later, we moved into a house. So just like the typical, like, I'm way too busy. I got too much stuff to do. But I did have two different rounds of losing weight. At one point, I was at 431. Thinking about 431. And over the course of probably 4 months, I dropped to, I think it was 350 something.
Hmm.
Um, and it was, and then, but then I kind of stalled out. I had a really, really hard plateau and started getting into my mind of like, well, maybe I'm just meant to be this big, right? And I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody, like, maybe it's just meant to be. This is how I'm supposed to be. And then put the weight back on, and then a couple years later, tried it again. Got down to 2 or 349, and that was the lowest that I had gotten up until last year. Um, and then I put it back on and then some. And I think last year, not last year, 2019, probably September, October-ish. I think I was probably the heaviest I'd ever been. Like I had one pair of jeans that would fit. Everything else was
Yeah.
just way too tight. Um, and by the time that I started noticing that they were starting to fit more, I was still at like 420, 425.
Hmm.
Um, so
So you think you probably hit like 450 ish?
I probably, yeah, and the scale that we have, it only goes up to 430, and then it just
Hmm.
airs out. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I was up around that 450 range.
Yeah, I mean, I know what that life is like. But
Right.
but hey, the good thing is once you start losing, then you have more clothes that fit, and then and then like I had the last year I was wearing clothes that I had from 2010 that
Wow.
I had to get rid of because they don't fit anymore. Like they're too big.
Yeah.
But it's those jorts that I wore all last summer that
Sure.
but I got new jorts. Don't worry.
Oh, good. I'm I'm waiting for the Beach Dukes to pop out.
No, no, no.
Yes.
All
No.
right. So getting back to you, so you said last year like you started to change because of like during the quarantine. So what was that led to like your impetus for starting to change?
Yeah. Yeah. So through the month of December of 2019, I was having those telltale signs of the D word, of diabetes. You know, couldn't drink enough. I was always going to the bathroom. Um, and like, yeah, I should probably get checked. And it was, so I made the appointment, and like a week and a half, 2 weeks before the appointment, like my vision started going. Like I couldn't see everything. It was really, really blurry. Oddly enough, the only way that I could focus was if I crossed my eyes for just a moment, and then I
Wow.
could focus for a little bit. Um, so went in, and sure enough, I mean, explained the symptoms, and the doc's like, yeah, pretty sure you've got type 2 diabetes. We'll run an A1C just to make sure and see where you're at. And when that came back, the comment that the doctor left on the results was basically "whoa" in all caps, because my A1C was at 15.2, which
And
is
what's
basically
normal?
normal for a non-diabetic is under 5 or 5.6 or under. So it was literal, like, I it was off the charts. I think in searching all of the charts and images in Google, I think I found one that went up to 15.
Oh
So
wow.
basically, I was it was maple syrup. My blood was maple syrup. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, I don't I never had diabetes, but
Mm,
I was always doctors always thought I did. Like they were always like you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, and I never was close. Like I was always
really,
normal. Yeah,
that's
which is
awesome.
weird because I was like 600 pounds, but
Right.
you'd expect me to have it. And I had a family history of it too, so it's why
Oh,
it was,
really?
yeah, but never had it.
Nice.
So you hit that 15 plus
Mhm.
on the A1C, and you're like 420, you said.
Yep.
So when you decide to that you need to fix this and start, like, did you do any like kind of like nutrition plans that you like went after? Did you like research a lot? Did you like start in the gym the first day, like so many people like on New Year's Day?
Uh, yes to the first and definitely no to the second. Yeah, I pretty much I knew what was going on, right? So right away it was, what do I need to do to fix this? And it was carbs, it was sugar. I stopped drinking anything with I just stopped drinking milk, I stopped drinking soda. And for the first week in January I was drinking like diet soda, because there were, like, when I was in the throes of it, I would get like a large Coke from McDonald's,
Hmm.
and I'm like 5 minutes away from a McDonald's. So I'd get that in the morning. It would be gone halfway home because I would
Yeah.
just like slurp it down. Um, so I cut that out. I cut out all carbs, all sugar. Um, and I started seeing like improvements. I think when I went in, it was the middle of January. I was like the 23rd or something like that, or 13th. I can't remember. But it, I dropped maybe 10 or 12 pounds by then. And I wasn't exercising. It was just changing what I was eating. And I stopped eating shit basically. Um, so yeah, the first thing was food, nutrition, and getting that squared away.
Hmm.
And it was a hard break. It wasn't like, yeah, I'll just kind of ease into it. It was.
Yeah. Did you have like the like after giving up? I gave up sugar once before too, like cold, like just in all of a sudden. Did you have like the migraine or headaches for a few days and all that, or was it not too
uh,
bad?
I don't think so. Not, I mean, it was, if I did, it wasn't anything that really
Mm,
stuck in my memory. Um, it's been water and coffee.
yeah.
And I know you're a coffee lover, so I know you appreciate that.
Yeah,
Um,
I hate coffee. You know what it is when I was a kid, I drank my dad's coffee the one time, and
oh
I was
no,
like, "Ew, this is gross," and that just tainted me forever. That I will never like the taste of it.
coffee
Uh,
PTSD.
and it was like Folgers it wasn't like some good coffee. It was like whatever was cheap in the can. Um, he might even had a Folgers can that had cheaper coffee in it.
So
Yeah,
nice.
I don't really know. So you started in like basically like New Year's of 2020, right?
Yep.
Um, and you like lost a bunch of weight right away. I mean, I know how it comes off when you're at your heaviest. It comes
Oh
off in buckets, right?
yeah,
And
it's like stick of butter in the microwave.
yeah. So and I know you said you lost like 190 pounds over the course of the year. Like
Mhm.
when you were in the throes of losing, did you ever have a moment where you plateaued? Because you mentioned plateaus before. Did you
Yeah.
have plateaus this time, and like how did you deal with them this time compared to other ones when you gave up?
Yeah. So going into it, I think for whatever reason, I think it might have been the I either do this or I freaking die type of thing.
Hmm.
But before I would hit those plateaus and I would get frustrated and frustrated and frustrated and try to change things and nothing would happen. Then I'd be like, screw it, I'm done. Where this, I went into it knowing it was going to happen. I knew it wasn't going to be just a steady
Hmm.
drop, you know. Um, I knew that I'm going to hit those, and I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. Eventually, my body will catch up. I just got to stay at it. And I think I remember looking at it, I could almost schedule it because it was almost every 40 pounds, I would hit about a 3 week plateau.
Hmm.
I wouldn't go up, I would go down maybe just a little bit. I think there was a couple weeks where I didn't lose any weight during that time, but it wasn't like 4, 5, 7 pounds. It would be like one. Um, but I just stuck with it. I stayed with my nutrition plan. I stayed with my exercise routine, and eventually it caught up. and I knew it would. Um, so, and I know a lot of people, it's, if you hit a stall, change things up. Um, but I was in a good rhythm. Like I
Yeah.
was doing what I was doing, and it was working, and the body it just happens. So just charging right through it, keeping my mind steady, and eventually
Yeah.
got through.
That's awesome. So as you were going through like the whole loss and all that, did you ever, so some people have like what they call cheat or treat meals, and also like or rewarding themselves in other ways for hitting like certain milestones. Did you do any of that kind of stuff?
No, no. The only thing that I did do was I have an annual golf trip, and that's coming up in like 4 weeks with a bunch of buddies. Um, that was the only time that I really indulged, and it was mainly, we drank. Um, I didn't, it's just a meat fest in all sense of the term. Um, but like I wouldn't have the buns with the burgers or the
Hmm.
brats or the hot dogs. I stayed off of like chips. Um, I had some popcorn, and I drank like Miller Lite and Coors Light.
Yeah.
So essentially water. I mean, it was close to water. And liquor that didn't have any carbs. So I pretty much stayed with it. Um, and then, every once in a while there's the holidays and birthdays and things like that. I would have a piece of cake, but it was a small piece of cake. It
Hmm.
wasn't the entire freaking cake,
Yeah.
like it would have been in the past. So yeah, I really stuck with it as all throughout the year.
Yeah, it sounds like you just had like moderation when you did have those
Yeah.
couple things, because instead of having like you said the whole cake or like an entire bowl of pasta that's like a family size bowl
Hmm.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So during your the weight loss, have you had any like side effects? Like I so for instance, I know uh, I had kind of I not law I don't want to say lost, but like I had friends that kind of like became on the back got put on the back burner because they weren't as into hanging out, because I didn't want to go do the stuff that you know would be like going out to eat at like and eating shitty food, or like just hanging
Right.
out all day and eating or whatever. Because I was like, it just would trigger me to want to have that. I mean, during the pandemic year, it wouldn't matter because it wasn't going to happen. But like
Right.
I've been doing this in 2018. So,
Yeah.
so, or like, other things like some people like they lose like shoe sizes, or they lose height, or they or they, or like the other side is like you gain friends or community, or you like gain confidence, like stuff like that. Have you had any like either side?
So I don't think I've had the only negative has been completely swapping out my wardrobe, which is a good bad thing to occur.
Yeah.
But I remember it. I think it was like September or October. Took everything. Like it was just boxes, boxes, boxes. Filled up the entire back of my truck, and I took it to Goodwill.
Hmm.
Um, so including like probably a full garbage bag full of white t-shirts, because I was always like white t-shirt then a regular t-shirt.
Hmm.
Um, so that was the only downside as far as like not hanging out with friends. The pandemic really helped with that.
Yeah.
Didn't go out. I haven't been like eating in a restaurant since February of last year. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, that hasn't been, so not too many like downsides. Uh, it's been nothing but up, honestly. Um, while I didn't lose friends, I made a lot of really, really, really good friends who I've never met in person. You being one of them, you know, and that's the thing I think that really kind of surprised me the most out of
Yeah.
all. Um, and I think just the sense of confidence that I've gained has been tremendous. Like I'm even still today. Uh, it was last week. I I was playing with, I got twin daughters, we're 4. We're at a park, and I was just playing around, running around with them. And they're on like this playground, and there was a slide. It was a tube slide. And standing there at the top looking at it, I'm like, no, no, I'm not going to go down it. Because I don't know if you remember this episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets stuck in the water slide.
Yeah.
Yes, that has for years just played in my head.
Hmm.
And it I eventually went down it, right?
Yeah.
And then I couldn't wait to go down it again. Just like a little freaking kid. Um, so gaining the confidence and doing the things that haven't been able to do either for decades or my entire life, but I can do it now. It's just like compounds. It's just more and more and more and more. So it's been nothing but the upside. I haven't. Yeah, I don't think there's much downside aside from my wife having to buy me new clothes.
Yeah, I hear you on the wardrobe because I've had to do that as well.
Mhm.
Even just the amount of clothes, and then you're like, oh, I have to go buy new stuff, but then the new stuff doesn't cost as much as the old stuff because
Right,
you
it's
have to
less
buy from the
material.
specialty store and all that, right?
Yes.
Like I was, yeah, because I got today. I was looking for like polo shirts, and I was like, Kohl's or Penny, whoever had it for like $15 to $20, and
Hmm.
DXL. I'm like, that would have been $45 a polo,
Easy.
right? At
Easy.
least. So I'm
Yeah.
so yeah. So I mean, and that's like one of the other effects of it is like you're not spending as much money on clothes when
Right.
you're not like that large.
And you can find something that's on clearance. Like
Although for some reason you still have that hat that you didn't get rid of.
because they're in first place.
The Gabe
Although, you know what
Kaplers.
though?
It's a little
Like
big, yeah.
it is big.
Yeah. So my I used to wear an 8 and I'm down to 7 3/4.
Okay.
And because I have all fitted, I mostly have fitted hats
Yeah.
since I've been an adult. And yeah, I had to get rid of some of those too. Because I was like, these just look clownish now.
Like I can fit it over my just about over my ears if my head wasn't so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
um yeah. So part of what I want to talk about too is so throughout the course of the year, you we were all experiencing the pandemic, and obviously you didn't just do diet, right? So
Yeah.
like, so for as far as like your activity, like how did that go? Did you start like small and then eventually work up to, I know you go to a gym now, but like how did you evolve into that?
Yeah. So I had this old clunky ratty elliptical that I'd had when I started, the first time trying to lose weight, like probably 10 years ago. And it was so freaking loud. I couldn't do it in the morning because I would wake everybody in the entire house up. Um, and I got on that thing. And at first I started out, I could do maybe 10 minutes at kind of a lower RPM. And that was it. I couldn't do any more than that. But I would do that a couple times during the day because again, everything that I was reading how to battle type 2 diabetes, it's nutrition and it's exercise. Move at least 30 minutes a day. That's
Hmm.
it. Walk right on an elliptical. Um, and I seriously rolled that thing into the ground in September, October of last year. I busted it. Busted it. One of the arms completely sheared off. Um, but that's pretty much all I did. I think there's 1 or 2 weeks in maybe March or April, where I thought, well, I'll just start doing some weight training, mainly body weight because I had plenty of it. And I hit a stall and nothing was happening. And I think part of it was, I know I said, just keep going and you battle through the stall. But I was like, man, like it hit a brick wall. Like, all right, I'm gonna go back to the elliptical. I got back on the elliptical and it started going down again. So I was seeing results, and I stuck with it. And I stuck with the elliptical, even after it broke and I started going to a gym. When I signed up, they're like, "Yeah, you can get a free session with the weight trainer or the a trainer." I'm like, no, I'm just gonna ride the elliptical. I'm good. That's all I need. I You got three of them. I just need one of them. No, thank you. And I did that all the way through to the end of 29 or 2020.
Wow.
Um, in January 1st is when I started lifting weights, like doing weight training, stepped away from the elliptical more.
Okay. So now you do mostly weights.
Yep. Yeah, I do a 5-day split, lifting weights, two days on strength and three on build. And then I'm running too. So I run on my rest days. And occasionally when I got time on the days that I do lift.
Oh, that's great. And I know that like you like built up like I remember on Instagram you had like a New Year's resolution, right, for running. And what was that?
Yeah, so on New Year's Eve, I said I was going to run a 5K unbroken by the end of March. And I got kind of pushed into that or nudged into that by Denise, scaling down RNY. Shout out.
Yeah, she'll
Um,
be on the podcast soon.
awesome. That's awesome. I can't wait. Um, so yeah, I kind of got nudged into that, and so on January 1st, there was she showed me like this program of how to build up to a 5K. And the first thing was like interval running. So it was like
Hmm.
run for a minute, walk for 30 seconds, run for a minute. And I went to the gym, got on the treadmill. I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to like bump it up and bump it down, bump it up and bump it down. I'll just see how far I can go.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, that was I think that might have actually been on New Year's Eve. So I ended up going 2 miles straight. Like, well, damn. Well, if I can do 2 miles,
You're already like more than halfway there.
right. So the next day on January 1st, um, I got back on the treadmill and I did a 5K unbroken. And I posted that, and I think you were the one that was like, well, now you have to do a 10K. I was like, well, shit. Okay. So on January 2nd, I changed my goal and said, all right, well, now I'm going to run a 10K by the end of March
Yeah, I
unbroken.
mean, if you break a New Year's resolution on New Year's Day, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Maybe
mean,
it wasn't as much of a stretch, maybe.
yeah,
So yeah.
that's that's awesome. And do you like plan on participating in any like 5Ks or 10Ks when they have them in person? Uh,
Yeah, I did my first one in person on May 1st, uh, around town here, and it was wild. It was crazy. There were people who like I pulled up and there was somebody doing like stretch squats in the on the sidewalk, and there's some lady who had like a water vest on. I'm like, oh, like,
Wow.
the hell. And then there are other people that were dressed up as like rabbits because it was don't worry, be hoppy. And it was
Yeah.
sponsored by a brewery. Um
Okay. Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
there's all sorts, like a huge mix of people. Like, all right, well, I'm kind of in the middle. That'll be all right. Um and I went into it, I'm like, all right, well, I've run the 5Ks on the treadmill. I want to try to get under 30 minutes. It's nothing superb, but like I'll go for it. And I finished up on at 29 minutes and 12 seconds. So it's
It's really good.
not yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
And then I sign up for a 10K on in person on the 22nd.
Of May.
So yep, yep,
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. Hope you break your time for the 5K, but doubled, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, it's awesome. So when you did the 5K, did you just run straight through when you did it in person too?
yep,
That's cool.
yeah, yeah. Which kind of sucked because at the tail end, I think it was the last quarter mile was uphill.
Oh man.
It wasn't just a mile. Like, why
Yeah.
the hell would they do this? This is just cruel and unusual. Um, but yeah, still, so did that. And the funny thing is, so is they had like bib trackers, the chip in the
Hmm.
bib. And I didn't know this going into it, but it keeps track of how many people you pass and
Oh
how
wow,
many
I didn't know
people
that.
pass you. Yeah. And at the end of it, they showed the results, and I ended up passing 143 people, and I got passed by 7.
Wow, let's take that, right?
I'll take it. I'll
Yeah,
take it every day. So yeah, that was kind of cool.
yeah, that's awesome. So, kind of wrapping up the health part of the show.
Mhm.
So today, like you said, you've lost 190, like your A1C is under control.
Yeah.
And what's that at now?
Last time it was checked, I think it was 5.4 or 5.2.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was without meds. So when I had it checked in June, and it was, I think, 5.6, and that's when I was still on just the lowest dose of metformin.
Hmm.
It's kind of the usual medication they put you on, and I just, without consulting my doctor, which was this very stupid, and I would not recommend it. I stopped taking it, and I checked. I stopped taking it. I was checking regularly because if it started going up, I was going to get right back on it. But it bumped up a little bit and then it leveled off.
Yeah.
So June of last year is when I stopped taking any kind of medication.
Did you have one of those like glucose monitors that are like on your arm, like oh, I don't want to say embedded, but
Oh no, no, I
no.
just had the little monitor with the strips
Yeah.
and the
Okay. Yeah.
bulky thing. Yep.
Cool. Cool. So now we know where you're at today. Like, what are some other than your 10K? Like, what are some other like goals for your health or physical fitness or whatever? Like you
Yeah.
have for like the next say year, like till 2022 or mid 2022.
So I have never in my entire life done a single pull up unassisted. Um, even in like grade school when they would do the presidential fitness tests,
Hmm.
can never do one. So that's my goal. That is to do at least one unassisted pull up by the end of June. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and I am about maybe an inch or two from getting my chin over the bar.
Oh wow.
So
So
almost,
you're close.
I'm
You're
very
very
close.
close, right?
I could taste it literally. Not that I would, because that's gross.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless it's in your house, and then maybe it's not as bad.
no, I have kids. It's terrible here. It's, it's like a 2,000 square foot petri dish. It's gross. And the other one by the end of the year is I want to get body fat percentage under 17.6. And the only reason for that number is because I saw a chart that said that anything 17.5 or under is an athletic build or like excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'll go for that.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's great because compared to where you were, even just
Oh,
what'll then be two years prior, right?
hmm.
Compared to then 2 years in the future, like that's kind of insane or kind of stunning. Let's go stunning.
uh, I am a stunning individual. Um,
Yeah.
the beard especially.
So one thing I like to ask everyone like kind of something they're into, like the like other than just weight loss, because we can talk about weight loss all day,
Oh yeah,
because we've
yeah.
done it, multiple times. So I'd asked you, and you had said that you like movies. So what I wanted to ask you were like to give me like 3 movies that you would watch over, like you can watch anytime, like anytime they're on. Uh,
Yep. So, Ready Player One
mhm.
is one of my favorites. I'm an 80s and 90s child, so
Yeah.
all the nostalgia. Any if it's on TV, no matter where it's at, I will sit down and I'll stay on.
Did you read the book?
No, no.
So I I listened to the audiobook, and I was listening to it on the way to the theater to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And and when you read or listen to a book first, um, it doesn't quite it never lives up to the book. The guy who wrote it is also a complete nerd. Like, so stuff in the book, some stuff in the movie isn't in the book, and a lot of stuff that's in the book isn't in the movie. But I like the movie. I like the movie for how it adapted it. When I first saw it, I didn't like parts of it because it totally strayed from how the book worked.
Okay.
So like the
Okay.
two main characters in it, they don't actually meet until the end
Well,
in the book, huh?
that's wrong.
Yeah, so like they don't physically meet till like the very end or whatever. So
Okay.
stuff like that. So that was like one of those moments where I'm in the theater. I'm like, no, no,
Stop. Just
yeah,
stand up and say, everybody stop.
yeah. But yeah, I liked it. Like I've liked it more since I've seen it since it came out in the theater, because like that first one was just like that jarring thing where I actually was one of those people that consumed the book first, and I say consume because I listened to it, but
Yeah.
um and because I remember when the Harry Potter movies came out, or Lord of the Rings, and they're like, there's so much more in the books. And I was always like, who cares? But then I became one of those people. But yeah, so, and the nostalgia is crazy in that movie,
Oh,
right? I mean,
yeah.
I can't believe they got some of the stuff they got in it, because it was like it was a Warner Brothers movie and they got Disney stuff in it, like Disney let them
Right.
use it. And I'm like, that's like almost never happens.
I
That'd be
know.
like the Giants and the Dodgers making a trade of superstars or something.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and even like I had seen it probably 10 or 15 times before. Like there was another just a subtle thing, when he pulls out the orb of Orthodox,
Hmm.
he takes it out of the box that from the Gremlins.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I'm like, I've seen that box. I know that box. I had to look it up. Sure as hell. Yeah. It's
Wow.
it's Gizmo's box. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also crazy that Spielberg directed it, and it's got all this 80s nostalgia that includes stuff that he did.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just nutty. Because
And
there's
even
so much.
and even the new stuff, like Tracer's on there two or three times.
Hmm.
Tracer's in there. So
Yeah.
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 Ready Player One, Shawshank.
Yeah.
I can watch I can watch that all day long.
That's on my, well, I have a poster of it in
Oh
my
yeah.
man, I'm looking at it right now. But
And I'm not saying that just to suck up. I love that movie. And I love the fact that it was just totally underrated when it came out in the theaters
oh
too.
yeah, total bum. And it's just like it's worked because it's been on TV like how much in the 90s and 2000s and
Oh yeah.
2010s. And it's got, a good message, and it's got like some of the most subtle stuff that's in it. Like I love the scene when Morgan Freeman says, maybe I'm Irish, because of his name being Red, and because it's
Yep.
supposed to be an Irish, and stuff like that. It's just like it was so well written and acted. The only thing that kind of takes me out sometimes is actually the main character, because he looks like he's just plopped in the movie. Like he doesn't always seem like he's actually authentic of the time he's supposed to be in, but a little bit. So it's every now and then he takes me out, but like a lot of it works.
Oh
So, and the ending is always like, you're like, what happens next? But I don't ever want to see a sequel.
no, 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 no. Leave it.
Like you think what happens next in your head, like, yeah, and when it's just good, because a lot of times the sequels are absolute
Correct.
trash.
Yes. No, no. I do not want to know what happens. Yep. We'll just
No,
get at
no.
that.
And I
Walk.
mean, and it's also crazy because it was nominated for best picture, wasn't it? Or it was in the year, I think it was nominated.
I think so.
And it was in like the same year with like that and Pulp Fiction, and they both lost to Forrest Gump, which, I mean, Forrest Gump now doesn't age as well as those two,
It's true. It's
but
true.
at the
But
time it was
yeah.
just like a phenomenon. But
Oh, yeah.
I always find it interesting because it's like usually there's one movie that you think could be better than whatever wins the best picture, but then when there's like two that are also nominated, and they're like, how did they not? Granted, it was
Right.
25 years ago, so voting the voting block wasn't
A little
uh,
different.
as diverse as it is now, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of probably old people that or like, oh, we love Tom Hanks. We gave him the Oscar last year. Let's give it to him again.
Yes, he's such a humble person. Hanksy.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess a third, I'll throw three into a third. Any of the original Star Wars trilogy.
Okay.
In fact, so when I was 5, I was 5 years old when we got our first VCR, and we had one VHS tape, and there's two movies on it. It was Star Wars: A New Hope, and I hope you get this and know what I'm talking. Six Pack, Kenny Rogers.
No.
Oh, it's not a bad movie. It's all right. But
Yeah.
Kenny Rogers is a NASCAR driver, and he gets slung into this group of kids. Anyway, so I had those two movies,
Okay.
and every single freaking day, Star
Yeah.
Wars.
Yeah, we had so we I can't remember. We had a VCR as long as I remember, but the two that we had that I watched a lot were Empire
Mm,
and Raiders.
yes.
Because we didn't have a lot of VHS that were non like Disney
Okay.
movies at the time. So
Well,
because we had,
Raiders. I mean,
yeah, because my grandfather, I was my grandfather, and he had like a whole cabinet of recorded off TV movies,
mhm,
and they were all like written, and like there was one that just was Empire and Raiders, like, and I had no idea for the longest time. I didn't really like, I watched them, but I didn't really pay attention like I was a kid, so I didn't.
right.
And like I watched Raiders, and I didn't really pay attention to what it was about. Like I just wanted to watch Empire,
Just
and
give me
and then I finally got hooked on Raiders as well. But yeah, I can go with any of the Star Wars trilogy. I mean, I don't like Return of the Jedi as much, but it's more
oh,
the
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 friends,
changes have really hurt Jedi more than any other one. I feel like, even though Boba Fett shows up in A New Hope now, but which doesn't, I don't like it, but it doesn't bother me as much as like the changes they made to Jedi, like
yeah.
the stupid Sly Snoodles song at the beginning or whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
No,
then
that,
the no from Vader at the end, and which wasn't there,
right,
and all
right.
that kind of stuff. Is the Hayden Christensen part where they put him in didn't bother. That actually doesn't bother me, because I feel like, because his
Oh, before he, I
yeah,
get it.
if he's gonna
Yeah,
be a Force ghost, I'm like, well, that's when his like good part of him died anyway.
yeah, it was
Um,
before the younglings.
yeah, yeah, before the younglings, but because he shouldn't be a Force ghost is the real truth. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah,
it's Star Wars. I mean, I was a huge fan of it, and then the sequel trilogy came out, and it got ruined for me,
yeah.
because it wasn't even. I like the Force Awakens, and I actually like the Last Jedi. I like, it's probably my top three Star Wars, which is, most people hate it. Uh,
I, I mean, I can get behind it. I'm not, yeah,
because people had, I think it's mostly people had high expectations of what they wanted Luke to be, and he wasn't, and then that like just wrecked it for them. There were scenes like the blue milk, like the milk thing, the milk scene and stuff like that. It was stupid.
it's
um
terrible.
but it was really like the toxic fandom after that movie that got me, like, I'm just like not into this, like it's just not, it just kind of ruined it. And
Mhm.
then the last movie was so bad, like
Oh,
I hated it so much, so I just am kind of like, and I've actually been watching like old Star Trek, like the original series,
okay.
and now I'm at the point where I actually think Star Trek is better than Star Wars, which I never thought would happen.
Wow. I
Well,
never got into Star Trek.
original Trek, not original Trek versus like Star Wars, not just like, there's a million Trek shows and like,
Yeah,
but I've been watching the original series, and I'm just like, man, this is good. Like, compared, because I never watched it because I was like, I don't. I've watched all the movies,
yeah,
but never cared to watch the show. But yeah, the first two Star Wars are just incredible. So I mean, you can't
yeah.
go wrong. And Return
No,
of the Jedi is a good ending for most of it. The Ewoks are a bit ridiculous.
I so Jedi is in my top two.
Really?
It is. It's one of my favorites.
Is it?
So
Yeah.
yeah, you broke my heart.
Did I? I'm sorry.
But
I just, the Ewoks just, it's
fun.
just so silly, because it should have been Wookiees,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they wanted to sell toys, So,
And they did.
and they did. Yeah.
Yeah. And the spin-off movie Battle for Endor. I had that recorded too.
I have that and the holiday special
Oh.
on Google Drive. I got it somewhere a while ago. The so if you rank the Star Wars, how would you rank them?
Um, so
The original, not any others.
so Empire 1, Jedi 2, New Hope 3.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yep.
Yeah, I would go, Empire, New Hope, Jedi, but that's fine.
So I ruined things for my older kids, because I said we're gonna watch Star Wars, and I started at the very beginning. I'd never heard of the
Machete Order.
machete sequence,
Yeah.
so I ruined it.
Oh,
Um,
so you started with episode one.
yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
Yeah. I kind of think I just go with the order we saw them in more than
I,
anything.
I like
I
I
like the
kind of,
machete in a way.
yeah, because you find out, like, okay, Luke, and for anybody listening, spoiler alert, uh, Darth Vader is Luke's dad, and then with the machete sequence, you just bounce back to episode 2 as like the flashback
Hmm.
sequences,
Yeah.
then 2, 3, and then go to Jedi, and then go on with the rest of the mostly trash.
Yeah. I've actually come around on episode one a little bit in recent years. I don't hate it as much as I used to. I really hate episode two. I really hate Attack of the Clones. The only good thing in that is the battle sequence at the end.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
I would say
So,
that about episode 1. Although the cool thing about the Star Wars fandom is the conspiracy theories. My favorite one is how Jar Jar Binks is actually Sith.
oh yeah, I've seen that. Like I've seen like the breakdowns on YouTube of those, and I'm just always whenever they do them, I'm like, man, you got some time on your
A
hands.
lot of time. But
Yeah.
watching, like, I can see it.
I feel like even if it was legit like something, it would be George Lucas just trolling people to get to that point of dissecting it. But that was 20 years ago, so he's not probably doing that, right?
Right. I think
Now he would do that.
now he would probably come out and be like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. Big brain.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah, the one time I went to Lucasfilm in San Francisco and they have like statues of like Darth Vader, Boba Fett. They have like the lights, like Luke's lightsaber,
Hmm.
and they have like a statue outside. They have like a fountain of Yoda, and it's just like one of the weirdest like nerd. Like it's just their like it's like literally their office. Like it's a lobby, and you can go in as like anybody can go in. Like the lobby can't go any further.
Yeah.
But I was there, so I'm like, I just wanted to. I heard about the Yoda fountain, so I was like, I just want to see the Yoda fountain.
Yeah.
And then I saw people coming in and out, and I was like, let me see if I can get in there. And then I went in and I got a selfie in front of like Boba Fett and in front of Darth Vader.
I'm gonna do that next time.
Yeah, it's in like the Presidio, so it's just
Okay.
it's some Lucasfilm building. But it's pretty cool just because you're like there, and I'm like, when are you gonna see this again?
Right. Yeah.
I think they have an R2D2 something. I can't remember what it is though. Um,
I gotta check it out.
yeah, it's pretty cool for a
I love
Star Wars fan, right? Because you're never gonna go to Skywalker Ranch,
No.
yeah, as much as you might want to.
I'll hard pass on that one.
Yeah. All right. So now that we went through that, I have the last segment of the show is called Brett's Corner, which was actually going to be the title of the podcast at one time.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just asked like five wrap up questions. Um, so first one is going because we just were talking about movies. Is there like a movie, TV show, or like event, sporting event, whatever that you're most excited for in the coming year?
Yeah. Yeah. So before the pandemic, I had gotten tickets to um Green Day, Weezer, and Fall Out Boy.
Hmm.
And the last concert that I had been to was a college concert with Semisonic in 1998.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's like, and I love Green Day. I love Green Day. I like
Yeah.
Weezer. Um,
Fall Out Boy's just a nice add-on.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, so I actually was going to get tickets to that exact concert in
are you
DC.
sure?
Yeah, but I didn't because of the pandemic.
Yeah, we have the tickets. It's when it comes back to Minneapolis, we're going. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Nimrod was one of my first CDs I bought. I actually bought with my own money.
Dookie is probably one of my all-time favorites.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I remember working at Hardee's, washing dishes, and after we close, and Basket Case would come on, and I would just step back and just do the. You can't see it, but I'm
yeah,
playing the
yeah, yeah.
guitar. Yeah,
I get it, but
yes, okay. Let's call that out
of
explicitly.
course we're also like because they're kind of old compared to a lot of people that we
Yes,
deal with on the regular.
vintage, vintage.
Vintage, yeah. All right. So question number 2.
Yeah.
One of them you might have just answered, kind of. What are 2 non-health related goals for the next year?
Um, so I want to go to the concert. Uh, let's see. Non-health related. Um, I kind of so I for a while years ago I was playing guitar, not really a lot, not well. Um, and I have it sitting right here. I want to pick it back up again. Learn how to
Awesome.
play guitar. Yeah.
Cool. Any songs that you like to play on it when you did play?
Um, Green Day. I was playing.
Did you play Good Riddance?
I tried to. I even got like a pedal switcher so I
Hmm.
can play the acoustic and then switch over to the electric.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
nice. All right, question 3. So if someone came to you saying they were lacking motivation or inspiration to stay consistent, what 3 pieces of advice would you give them?
So lacking inspiration or motivation, I would tell them that's going to continue to happen. Because those two things, and I posted about this before, and I truly believe it. Those two things are buckets that are full of holes, and it only carries so much. Meaning that you can't ride this whole journey, this whole road trip on a holy bucket. You got to find something else beyond just inspiration and motivation. Um, so you need to find that why that's going to continue to stick with you, that's going to continue to get drilled into your head. And it sounds really cliche. It does. Find your why, but it means so much because on the days when you wake up in the morning, whether it's 6 or 3 o'clock in the morning to go get after it before somebody else takes it from you, um, you can't rely on motivation. It's got to be like the days when you just don't want to get up. No, I gotta freaking get up. I gotta
Yeah.
get up. I gotta do this thing. You gotta find something other than just relying on pure motivation. Um, how many pieces? Sorry,
3.
3.
Yeah.
So that's one. Find
Okay.
something that's well beyond motivation and inspiration. Um, be as consistent as you can. Like maybe if you're going to walk a mile for 365 days straight, find consistency and find the rhythm, because this is all about retraining your head. And you said it before, and I've said it. It's the mind part is the hardest part.
Hmm.
Getting your mind right. And a lot of that, I think, anyway, for me, it was learning new habits, and learning new habits by continuing to repeat the same things over and over again before by the time it just becomes nature. That's just how you roll.
Yeah.
So find a rhythm, find a routine that really works, and stick with it. Be consistent. And then I would say one thing that I didn't have at the beginning in the first 6 months, but I really found in the last 6 months, was find your tribe. Find people. They always say don't surround yourself with like-minded people because you're never going to learn. That's for some things that's true. For other things it's bullshit. um find people who are going to continue to fill that motivation and inspiration bucket when it's completely empty. Um, find people who you can cheer on, who you can partner with, who you can drive and make, and be able to fill your own bucket. And who will do the same for you, to celebrate those wins, to cheer you on when you're feeling good, to help you out when you're not feeling good, somebody to lean on. And that doesn't always have to be people in the same room as you,
Yeah.
or even in the same freaking state.
It's also easier not to be someone that you kind of know in real life at first
Right.
too, because
Yeah.
like you don't have this, you don't have like a legacy of knowledge of the person. You
Hmm.
don't have like, you don't have to worry about like if you offend, like if you not offend, but if you like they think less of you, right? Because that's what you worry about. Like because like so many of us when we start, we don't tell our friends, we don't tell our real friends, right? Like we just make an account on Instagram. And yeah, I did too. I mean, I have another account that I actually don't use anymore because becoming Brett has basically become me.
You know.
Um, but you know, I had nobody knew, and then slowly, because Instagram lets people figure out that you have other accounts,
Hmm.
uh, people started to find me, and then I just kind of made it public about a year ago. Like I just shared it on Facebook. I share it every now and then on Facebook because I'm like, you know what, F it. Because at this point, people if they see me, they're gonna notice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same. I did the same thing. It was, and the pandemic helped that I didn't have to be real public about it. And then it wasn't until it was January 1st of this year when I posted anything on Facebook
Mhm.
about losing the weight. So yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. And one of the thing I would say about the tribe thing too is, as you know, like I met a few people from the tribe in the last few months, and when you meet them, even though you never met them before, so it's like total strangers in theory. Like you meet them, and it's kind of like you are hanging out with like somebody you haven't hung out with in a while. Like, because
Yeah.
like it's just like you pick up right where it's kind of like you pick up right where you left off, right? Even though you
Sure.
never left off anywhere. And it's just like, because you just know each other from different things like talking and chats and DMs and all kinds of stuff like that. So like I feel like the tribe is like one of the most vital, because
Hmm.
if you don't like I've had people on Instagram that don't have like they don't connect with people, and then they kind of get frustrated because they don't have people to lean on, and they'll like I had somebody that DM me the one time and said, I see all the people that you like interact with all the time on Instagram, and like how do I get that way? I'm like, just start interacting with them. Like
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta put, if you want something on you, if you want to have your cup filled up, you gotta like pour some out to other people,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
I mean, it's all reciprocal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Last two.
Mhm.
What have you discovered about yourself during your journey or transformation that surprised you the most?
Mm. I can do stuff that I was afraid of doing. Case in point, I can go down a slide that's a tube slide.
Yeah.
Um, that's that's one thing. Like just the utter gaining confidence that I have. Um, and oh man, I had a really good one and I completely lost it. Yeah, I would say that. Um, yeah.
Okay. Cool. And if in this is a little bit of a screwy question, if
All right.
in 150 years science fails to save us and all that is left is a book about your life, what would the title be, and what would the blurb tell us about Jayson?
uh, Man-child surprisingly succeeds.
Like it.
Um,
Nice.
and the blurb, maybe. I, God, man, I should have studied. Maybe that's it.
Cool.
um, like, dude, I just like to have fun. I and I always said, doesn't matter what it says on my driver's license, I'm still like a high school junior. at heart. Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we all see ourselves like 16-year-old, even though
yeah,
you have like gray hair and wrinkles and all that. Like you're still the same as you, same person, not same person, but the same
yeah,
basic person you were when you're 16.
yeah, yeah. I don't take myself too seriously. I don't take life too seriously. There are things that you do have to take seriously, and that's just the definition of maturity. You know when you can't be just a dumbass. Um, but I like to enjoy things, and now I'm really enjoying things as opposed to just like I'm kind of happy and I'm kind of content. No, like tonight playing running around the playground and climbing up through things with my kids and going down slides. Like I never would have done that years ago, last year. Never in a million years. So man child surprisingly succeeds, does stuff that you didn't think you could do before.
Awesome.
And it builds on. I mean, I think I said it another time, like I'm in that mindset now where like there's nothing I can't do. And even if I can't do it, I can't do it now, but I will.
Yeah. You'll learn and you'll adapt and you'll figure
Yeah.
it out. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Cause I mean, that's the way it works when you start putting like forth effort. And like, I feel like so much of this journey is realizing that it just takes some effort, even though you thought you were giving effort and stuff. And then you look back and you're like, I wasn't really trying that hard.
Right. And even now, like what I found going in lifting weights now, I go through my routine. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good. But did I go to failure on my last two sets?
Hmm.
No. Could I have? Yes. And then going back in there with that mindset of no, I'm gonna go to failure. And then that turns out like I can lift more now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add more weight to it, and I'm gonna go to failure on the sets on the reps that I need to. So it's that constant like I can do better. I'm gonna try to do better, and if I can't do better, it's fine. But I can't do better today.
Yeah.
But I will.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's funny once you're like in there and you're like lifting and like as you do it more, you're like you realize how quickly you can add the weight.
Hmm.
And when like a certain weight seemed like 50 pounds was what you're doing when you started on some machine or just free weight, and then all of a sudden you're doing 80 and 100, and it builds pretty fast,
Yeah,
which is you know
mind
just
blowing.
yeah, it is mind blowing because you're like, I didn't think I could do this like 4 months ago, and now I'm like killing that
Yeah,
amount, right?
yeah,
So yeah, all right. So uh, I think that'll wrap us up. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, and I'll put it in the show notes, where can they reach out to you?
yeah. I am on Instagram, refactoring dot Jayson, Jayson.
Just like Jason Worth.
Yes.
All right, Jason. Thanks for coming on, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Absolutely.